People have tried to explain Bigfoot for more than a century. Some say it's an ape, others think it's a legend, and a few believe it's a spiritual being. But none of those theories ever really explain the most confusing part. Why Bigfoot appears, leaves clear footprints, interacts with environment, and then vanishes without a trace. No bones, no bodies, no tracks leading away. Every time we get close, it's gone. And that's where a strange but fascinating theory begins to make sense. The idea that Bigfoot might not live fully in our time at all. That maybe it's not an animal hiding in forests, but a traveler moving through time itself. Let's start with what's undeniable. Bigfoot behaves like something that exists here only temporarily. In the famous 1967 Patterson-Gimlin film from Bluff Creek, California, two men captured one of the clearest recordings of a large, human-like creature walking calmly across a creek bed. Decades of analysis have shown muscle movement, limb proportions, and gait patterns impossible to replicate in costume technology of that era. Experts could not disprove the footage. But what's even stranger is that within days of the recording, the tracks the creature left behind simply stopped. They didn't lead into the forest or up a rock wall. They ended abruptly, mid-step. That's not how living creatures move. That's how something would act if it suddenly phased out, if it slipped between moments of time. A similar pattern happened in 1982, when a U.S. Forest Service worker named Paul Freeman followed a line of giant footprints near Mount St. Helens. The prints continued for hundreds of meters, clear and deep, then ended suddenly in the middle of an open field. No turn, no backtrack, no sign of flight. It was as if the creature disappeared mid-walk. If Bigfoot were just a flesh and blood animal, these patterns would make no sense. But if it's a being that can move through time, the evidence fits perfectly. It appears in our timeline for a short period, interacts with the environment, and then steps back out, leaving only the footprints of the brief time it was physically here. Another event adds a crucial clue. In Utah's Uinta Basin in 1978, a group of hikers reported seeing a huge, upright creature between the trees. Moments later, they heard a loud static crackle, like electricity filling the air, and their camera shut down. When they checked their watches, two of them showed a different time from the others, off by exactly 2 minutes. This is classic time distortion. Temporary differences in how time flows, something scientists have documented during exposure to strong electromagnetic fields. That strange interference, the same one that drains batteries and makes radios hiss in many Bigfoot encounters, may not just be random static. It could be the energy signature of a being shifting through timelines. If Bigfoot generates or uses electromagnetic energy to travel through time, then these side effects are exactly what we'd expect. One of the most chilling cases supporting this idea comes from Arizona in 1995, when a ranger known only as Stanley saw a giant figure standing by the Mogollon Rim Canyon. When he shone his spotlight, the creature's eyes glowed blue-green, not reflected, but glowing from within. His radio filled with static, and the air shimmered like heat waves. Then the figure seemed to fade, as if reality itself bent around it. Moments later, the ranger noticed something impossible. 30 minutes had passed, though he swore the whole encounter lasted 5. This phenomenon, missing time, electrical failure, and visual distortion, appears again and again in Bigfoot reports. For a physical animal, that's unexplainable. For a time traveler, it's exactly what happens when an organism steps across the boundaries of time. Now, let's look at why this idea could make sense scientifically. The Earth isn't a stable machine. It's full of magnetic and gravitational fields constantly shifting. Certain areas, especially mountain ranges filled with quartz and iron, can create electromagnetic anomalies. Some physicists believe that under the right conditions, these fields could twist time very slightly, like ripples on a pond. If Bigfoot isn't just an animal but an evolved species, maybe a remnant of Gigantopithecus, an ancient 10-foot ape from Asia, it could have developed biological organs capable of sensing and controlling those distortions. That would explain why sightings cluster in highly magnetic zones like the Pacific Northwest, the Rockies, and even the Ural Mountains in Russia. The creature might use natural Earth energy as gateways to move between different points in time. And that ties into another strange piece of evidence: the link between Bigfoot and glowing orbs or UFO lights. During the 1973 Pennsylvania UFO wave, witnesses across the state saw both strange lights in the sky and large, hairy humanoids in the woods. In several cases, people describe the creatures walking directly into the glowing lights and vanishing. If we stop assuming those lights were alien spacecraft and instead think of them as time portals, flashes of energy where a being enters or exits our reality, then Bigfoot's connection suddenly makes perfect sense. It doesn't need a spaceship. It is the traveler, using bursts of electromagnetic energy to move between times. Even Native American legends seem to support this. Tribes in the Pacific Northwest spoke of the Tiasamequis, tall forest beings who could walk between worlds. The Salish said these beings were not monsters but watchers, guardians who appear when nature is out of balance and vanish once balance is restored. In modern words, that sounds exactly like an intelligent species monitoring Earth through time. If our planet ever faces environmental collapse or major events, perhaps Bigfoot appears to observe, or maybe even to warn. Critics point out that no Bigfoot body or bones have ever been found. But if these beings can move through time, their bodies wouldn't remain in ours when they die. They'd return to wherever they came from, past, future, or another dimension entirely. And the fact that footprints show enormous pressure, matching a creature that weighs several hundred kilograms, means it's physically real when it's here. It's not a ghost or illusion. It's something material that enters, then exits our reality. Genetic evidence gives one more hint. In 2013, a DNA study by Dr. Melba Ketchum analyzed alleged Bigfoot hair and tissue samples. The results were shocking. The mitochondrial DNA, inherited from the mother, was human, but the nuclear DNA, the part that defines the species, was unknown. Many scientists dismissed it for lacking peer review, but if true, it suggests a hybrid between humans and something not yet identified. What if Bigfoot isn't just visiting us randomly, but is a descendant or alternate version of us? Humans from another timeline who evolved differently, perhaps in a future where technology merged with biology and allowed time manipulation. That could explain the intelligence behind the eyes, the avoidance of violence, and the quiet observation of our species. They might not attack because, in a way, we are their ancestors. And look closely at where Bigfoot is often sighted. Near deep forests, lakes, caves, places untouched by human civilization. If you were a time traveler studying the past, wouldn't you avoid crowded areas and stick to wilderness where you can move unseen? The creature's behavior perfectly fits that logic. It watches from a distance, records mentally or biologically, and then disappears. When you take all of this together, the vanishing footprints, the electromagnetic disturbances, the missing time, the glowing eyes, the simultaneous UFO sightings, and the ancient legends, every piece connects like a puzzle. Each clue that seems random on its own becomes clear when you accept that Bigfoot may be crossing time itself. So here's the theory in full. Bigfoot is not an undiscovered ape. It's an evolved form of human or humanoid that has mastered a natural ability to travel through time using electromagnetic energy and geological rifts. When it appears, it's solid and real. When it leaves, it doesn't hide. It steps out of our timeline. That's why there are no corpses, no fossils, no dens, no bones. It's not gone forever. It's just not here right now. And maybe, just maybe, that's the reason it keeps showing up across centuries. In native myths, medieval records, and modern films. Bigfoot might not be a monster at all. It could be our own reflection. A survivor from a future or past version of humanity, watching, learning, maybe even trying to guide us without revealing itself. If that's true, then every sighting isn't a random encounter. It's a brief meeting between 2 points in human evolution. Us in the present, and them in another time. The creature's silence, its distance, its sudden vanishing, all of it could be a message that we're not alone in our own timeline. So next time you hear about a giant figure walking through the fog, leaving deep footprints that stop halfway across a field, remember this. Maybe it didn't run. Maybe it simply went home, not to another place, but to another time. And if it really is us, then somewhere, far in the future or deep in the past, humanity has already found the secret to walking between moments. Bigfoot is the proof, and we just haven't caught up yet.